Hello everyone and welcome back. Let's go ahead and finish our tic-tac-toe game. Today I would like to experiment with something. I would like to shorten my content. That's why I'm just going to paste in the code and I'm going to walk you through the way that I have created this game. So here we are just going to create a new file, a new Python file, and call it tic-tac-toe. Okay. And this is the file. Starting from the top, you have to import Pygame. Of course, we need this library. So from backend, we import game. Game is the logic of our tic-tac-toe game. If you don't have it, please have a look in my previous video. There I create the logic of the game and I explain everything. We are using width of 360 and height of 680 for our window, frames per second 30. Cell objects are just a list that is going to hold our cells. So I will show you. So this is the game, and it's going to cell objects is going to hold this cells inside, so we can loop through it and use it as we like. Player 1, player 2, set them to true or false. With this, we are going to switch between the players, who is playing, who is not playing. Game, I'm just creating an instance of this class. I will refactor this to be a little bit more clear what's going on. So I will just call this one, let's say, this game refactor. Is not correct here. It should be game here. Game. Okay, now it's okay. Game matrix also is coming from the game object. Position also from the game object. Game tie, we are setting it to false. Scores, game over, also to false. Maybe you can place it here, make it a bit thinner. Scores and the result to display. Result to display, it will be when we have a result. For example, this one, player 1 wins. This is a result. We set it to an empty string for now, but later in the game we are going to set it as we need. Colors, I decided to go with dictionary of colors because I thought that maybe in the future we can create skins for this game. So for example, colorful skin, and then you have all of these colors inside, or you maybe want a gray skin, white skin, and you can adjust it as you like. This is just an idea. Here we initialize the font screen. We get a screen from the Pygame, and with this width and height, we set a caption for the screen. So tic-tac-toe, as you can see here, tic-tac-toe. Clock, we also get from the Pygame a clock. The cursor, I will set it to a broken X. So as you can see, when I hover over the cursor, changes to a broken X, like that. Font definitions, small and medium. I think I'm only yes, I'm using two. Small is 26, as you can see. Medium is 30, 26 here, 30 here. I'm using Free Sans Bold, but you can use whatever font you like. You can just download the font here and use it. Text objects, function that is helping us to write text on our game. Few links here that might be of interest. I will paste them in the description. I have in one of my other videos, I have explained how this function works. So if you like, you can have a look in my Pygame trick video, and there you can find some explanations. Line separators. Here we are just drawing some lines. So we need these lines, and these are being drawn in this loop. So as you can see, this is the vertical line 1 and 2, and this here, it's a horizontal line 1 and 2, and then further down we have these 4 more lines, 1, 2, 3, and this one, 4th one. Going down, game objects. I decided to create a main class, and from this main class to inherit, because we have cells and buttons, but basically they are almost the same. Small differences: on the cell you draw something, and on the button you write something. And of course, not only this, but these are the main differences between them. So that's why I decided to make a main class and inherit from this class further down. You need the name, as you can see here, the length, height of the object, where you start to draw it, position, if it's on, if it's off, and the text it's initialized to false, because game cells don't need a text. So start with that. We animate it, and this what this basically does. We just once you hover over the cell, so if the cursor is inside the cell, the game is going to draw a lighter color of that cell on top of the old one, and if you remove the cursor, it's going to again to draw back a darker color. And here as well, you can see. So this is the, so if the position is inside, we are drawing lighter. If no, we are drawing darker. If we have text, because sometimes we do have text for the buttons, then we use the text objects function here to draw the text. Click action. So again, we are checking where we have our mouse placed, because this is very important to see which cell was clicked. So for example, if I'm inside this cell, then inside this area of the cell, then I know that this cell is going to be clicked, and I can do something in relation to this cell or this button, for example. And because this is a main class, I am just defining here clicked and passing out of it, because if I remove it, or I comment it out, then of course I will get an error asking, okay, what is this function? I don't have it. So that's why I'm just defining it here, and I'm passing out, and I'm going to override it further down. Going into the game cells, we have from the super, we have the name, and we are passing the name inside here. Then I don't have to set for every cell width and height, because we already know that they'll have to be equal. So that's why I hardcode them inside here. Object X and object Y, of course, we need that, because we need to know where we are going to start to draw them in X and Y position. Color, light blue and blue, so one is being hovered over, one is not. So this is the colors that we are going to use. And false, because we are not going to use any text. This is a variable that is going to hold for now an empty string, as you can see here, and later on is going to hold X or an O, depending on who is pressing on which player is pressing on the cell. Clicked, as I said earlier, I'm overwriting clicked here, and I'm getting the global player 1, player 2 to see who is actually playing the game, and then getting the position. And then if player 1 is playing, I'm going to set this to an X, and then in the game matrix I'm going to pass at this position, I'm going to pass 1. Player 1 finished playing, so I'm setting it to false. Player 2 is starting playing right now, so true. And inactive for the cell, because once the cell was played, nobody should be able to play again the same cell. So same goes here. Here you pass O and -1, so that we know who's playing. Okay, draw X or O. So this function is just drawing on top of the cell X or O, depending on who pressed on the cell. So in this case, player 2 pressed on the cell. So this function checks, okay, what is this variable set to? Okay, if it's set to 0, then I'm going to draw a circle. If it's set to X, okay, then I'm going to draw two lines on an angle. You can see these are two lines on top of the other, same length, so it gives you the impression that it's a complete object, but it's actually two lines. We are drawing the two lines. The game buttons, here we have only one function clicked. Again, we are overriding the main function here. Let me make bigger. And we are checking here if the name of the button that we are hovering on top is reset or if it's restart. So if it's restart or reset, if it's reset, we do the function below. If it's restart, we do the function below, and also we set the scores back to 0. So try to get, this was a tie, restart. Now player 1 win. So now we can see player 1 has 2. If I reset, this will still be the 2, but we can play another game. But if I press restart, also this is going to be set to 0. And now reset function, so we get a global variables. We set everything to back to empty list, empty strings, set back to player 1 being the first one, second player waiting, and the game is not over, it's running. Game is not tie, it's we have an open game that is being played right now. We are creating now the cell objects. So here we are calling the cell objects that we are defining. We call them to recreate the cells. Creating buttons, as you can see, a dictionary with 2 buttons, reset and restart. And we create the button here, the buttons here, restart, reset, give them a width, height, and then the colors that we need. Cells, we have here 2 loops because we have 3 rows, 3 columns, and we start position 0, 0. So we start from here, 0, 0, and then we draw depending on the dimension of the object. We draw the first one, then the second one, and third one, and then we go one line below, 1, 2, 3, and one line below, 1, 2, 3. And once it's done, we break out of it, and then we have all the buttons inside. And also we append the buttons once we create them. So once we create the objects, we append them to cell objects, so we can use them later on. Status of the game, we are drawing here. First we get the global variables here because we are going to work with them. Then we draw this rectangle here, on top of which we are going to write this score and then the result of the game. This is this one here, rectangle. Status, we are taking the status of the game from the backend, so from the game engine, which is checking, okay, who has won, is the game still running, is the game over, and if it's not over, then we are doing these checks here. So if we don't have a tie, we are just checking again for a tie, and if this is not a tie but this is a tie, then we have true, and then we set game tie to true and we stop everything. Otherwise, if the status of the game is X, so the backend tells us that okay, X won the game, then we increase the score for player 1 to 1. We set the result to display player 1 won the game, so player 1 wins, and then the game is over because already we have a status of X. Same goes for status of 0. In this case, player 2 wins, plus 1 to player 2, and game is again over. If tie, game was tie, and then we make the game over. A bit down, we are checking if we have a result to display. As you remember, the result to display was empty string. So if we have something like player 1 wins, player 2 wins, or game tie, then we go through this and we actually write this message on the board. And if not, we go down, and in any case, we are going to draw the score. So as you can see, all the time we have the score, but if we have something like this, then we have also player 1 wins. Start, we don't have anything, everything back to going down. the main function holds the continuous while loop. So running is true all the time until we press the X, so it will be running. We create the cell objects, we create buttons, and we hold them in this variable. We set the clock tick to FPS, which is 30, if you remember. We are filling the screen with black color, but you don't need to do that. You can comment this out. I just kept it in. This is coming from my developing of the game, so it's still on. And then we are looping through the cell objects, and we call all these functions of them. So animation, click, draw, everything we are calling, and then we are checking. For button in buttons, we do the same thing, but as this is a dictionary, we then just get the values of the buttons and we do the same animation and click. Game status, we are looping again, we are checking the game status. And then line separators. We are drawing the cells, we are drawing the buttons, we are drawing this the placeholder for the score, and then once everything is drawn, then we draw the lines. You can imagine this as when you draw in a photo editor and you draw by layers. So first you draw whatever is in the background, and then you draw whatever is in front of you. Because if you draw first the lines and then you draw the objects, then the line either will be invisible or it will be very, very thin and you can't really see it. So that's why I draw it at the end. Flip, I explained what flip is in one of my other videos. Basically, Pygame is just drawing everything at first, and then it's flipping, it's showing you what the program has drawn. So because if the drawing was dynamic and continuous, then the screen might start to flicker. So that is why first everything is drawn, and once everything is drawn, then the screen is flipped, and then the user can see what has been drawn. So this is done 30 times per second. In the events, we are not picking anything besides the game quit. So once you press this button here, is going to make running to false, and then everything is going to stop. So that's about it. I'm just going to stop this one, and I'm trying to run the one that I have just now explained to you. Try to start. Okay, we have a small problem here. Okay. Try from here. Run. Okay, now we have it. Okay, so let's try it. X, have a winner here is set. Again, let's make number 2 win this time. Have number 2 winning. Try one more time. Maybe this time we can tie. Everyone was, of course. There are 2 wins. Now the game is, and if we press restart. Okay, so that was it. I hope that you enjoyed this content. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see each other in the next one. Bye.